one thing for our viewers to kind of get to know us and who we are as these YouTube podcast hosts, just talking shop about wrestling. We kind of want to fill you in on who we like the most. Want to touch on this again. These are our top 5 favorite wrestlers of all time. So please make sure you're hearing that. And sound off below. If you're watching this, I'm going to turn the comments on in this video. Drop your top 5. We would love to hear it. We can talk about it on our next video. Any honorable mentions and things like that.
I cheated. I have 2 honorable mentions, so it's technically a top 7. But
wow,
it's a top 5 with 2 honorable mentions. I mean, come on. What list doesn't have honorable mentions?
Okay. So I'm going to kick it off. Do we want to go 5 to 1 or 1 to 5? 5 to 1, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And if you have honorable mentions, just go ahead and throw them out first as well.
I don't have any honorable mentions, but my number 5, I've been watching him for a long time, longer than a lot of my friends have with his time in WWE. There's just something about watching a bigger guy be able to do the shit that he can do in the ring for as long as he's been able to do it. He is on the sideline at this point in time, which makes me really sad because I hope he gets the opportunity to have one legit run before he ends his career. But I'm going with Samoa Joe as my number
5. Yeah, that's good. I do love Samoa Joe. We brought him up a little earlier. Hopefully he does come back soon. So just the 2 honorable mentions. I'm not going to go into much, but I'm Triple H and Daniel Bryan.
Wow, Triple H is
honorable mentions. Yeah, it's crazy. I had him at number 4 and changed it halfway through the podcast. So at number 5, I have the Heartbreak Kid, the showstopper, Mr. WrestleMania, Shawn Michaels. So my mom actually watched wrestling with me a lot growing up. If you end up watching this, hi Mom, love you. And she was in love with Shawn Michaels. And, you know, he was kind of at the top as I was getting into wrestling. You know, and then his return, I love the DX, everything about him. I know we're not talking best, but if we were talking 5 best in-ring performers, I think Shawn would be on that list too. He's incredible. You know, he has the nicknames he has for a good reason. He's earned all of them.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and go with my number 4. This is a guy, even if you're a fair weather fan, you are a diehard professional wrestling fan like myself and Sims, or you are someone that watched it when you were young and you don't know a lick about it anymore. This guy is a name that almost everybody recognizes. The Dead Man, The Undertaker, at number 4.
I don't have him on that list, and that's kind of I'm ashamed now. No, my number 4, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Anybody that knew me when I was younger, so in 3rd grade, I wore an Austin 316 vest to school every day. I'd wash it, but like, I felt like the biggest badass in the world when I'd come up to kick and kickball, and I had my vest on, I straightened it up, and I was ready to go. I was ready to kick bombs. But, yeah, and I think if I would have been older, he'd probably be higher on my list, maybe number 1, because when I go back and watch those old pay-per-views, I'm like, I wish I could give my boss a Stone Cold Stunner. That'd be so cool. So as a kid, I didn't relate to that as much as I do now, but Austin was the man.
Yeah, that's a good one. I actually don't have Stone Cold on my list. Yeah. I think I'm in the same boat if I were younger or older rather, whenever I was watching his stuff. And, you know, obviously he can't help it.
Right.
His career was cut short. And
So
for me, like, longevity is a big thing about my list, I think, looking at it now. But number 3, going back to TNA again, man. Following him in TNA, following him in Ring of Honor, following him in New Japan, following him finally getting his opportunity at WWE. It was really shocking to me watching SmackDown Live whenever his resume popped up. He's a two-time WWE champion, three-time United States champion, and one-time Intercontinental title champion. The phenomenal AJ Styles.
Great pick.
He's put on just absolute classics with people all the way from Kurt Angle to John Cena. Like, he got, and bless him for what he's done to the business, but Undertaker, you held on a couple more years longer than what you needed to. Yeah, but AJ got one hell of a match out of him at WrestleMania. So it's good to see him right away like that. Yeah. Yeah, that's my number 3. What about you?
At number 3, I have rest in peace, Latino Heat, Eddie Guerrero. So, this is something I think as a kid, it was probably more like, yeah, lie, cheat, and steal. Hell yeah. As an adult, it's more like, yeah, you don't do those things. But as a younger kid, it's like, fuck yeah. And then, the low riders and just like his in-ring ability, his promo skills. Eddie was the total package, man. And the first time, still to this day, if I see the video package that they did on Raw, or I see any part of that ceremony, I tear up every time. It's so sad that he was taken away from us at a young age, and yeah, Eddie is number 3 for me.
It's a good one. I think I have with Eddie being 3. I think I'm having a really good idea who your 1 and 2 are, but
we'll see. Think so, but we'll see.
My number 2, and this guy is going to pop up on probably a couple of other lists that we're going to do in the future. I think by me saying this, it's going to give it away for you, Sims. But in my opinion, looking back on his work and watching a lot of the stuff that he's done throughout his career, I truly think that this man is the best worker of all time. If you go back and look at some of his matches, he was one of the first ones to get bloody. He was one of the first ones that were doing 20-minute matches before 20-minute matches were fucking cool. Granted, we talked about it. We threw shade at him earlier in the show because of his ability to book himself into wins and things like that. But my number 2 is Triple H.
Yeah, I had him in my honorable mentions. Hunter, absolutely incredible. Favorite entrance theme of all time, the game. But my number 2, I did bring him up, but not by his real name earlier, Kurt Angle. The only Olympic gold medalist in WWE history. He's from Pittsburgh. I'm a Pittsburgh guy through and through. Absolutely a savage in the ring. Like, again, top 5 in-ring performers. I probably have Kurt up there. When I would wrestle with my brother and my uncles, the ankle lock was always my finisher, which would later be modified into an ankle lock knee bar that I call the Sims lock that you can't get out of, I promise. But yeah, Kurt was the toe package. I think the one moment I'll always remember with Kurt, and it involves my number 3 as well with Eddie, their match at WrestleMania when Eddie undid his boot and slipped out of his boot when he was in the ankle lock, and that ended up with him winning the title or retaining the title because he had won it from Brock Lesnar.
Was that WrestleMania 20? He slipped out of the boot?
Yeah, it was 20 because then you had the whole thing with he must not be named at the end of the show with them holding the titles up.
Yeah. Yep.
We will bring that guy up at some point. I'm sure what he did was a complete tragedy.
Yeah.
But we're not going to completely whitewash what he did as a wrestler. At least I won't. I won't speak for Kevin on that.
Yeah. And then number 1, man. I mean, my mom, and I'll do it again to suck up. Mom, if you're watching, love you. But my mom probably has pictures somewhere in our house back home that I grew up in of me with a mullet, with some earrings, doing the Shawn Michaels pose. He will and always will be, growing up, getting into wrestling with my dad. Um, he was my favorite whenever I was little, and then that was whenever I really experienced like one of your favorite things coming back. And the run and the tenure that he was able to do whenever he came back, I think it was like 2005 off the top of my dome. I think it was the same SummerSlam that Eddie and Bray fought for Dominic, oddly enough.
When Shawn came back from the back injury.
Yeah, with the street fight.
02.
02?
Yeah.
Okay. So that I don't have much more to say about it, but he completely changed the business. You don't watch a wrestling match these days without a drop kick. It's very
super
hard.
kick.
Yeah, damn it. Why did I say drop kick? Oh well. It's really hard to get through a wrestling show without seeing an elbow drop at this point too. Yeah. Obviously, that came from Macho Man, R.I.P.
I was gonna say, let's give credit where credit's due.
Randy Savage would probably be my honorable mention if I had one.
Okay. That's a good one.
I think Shawn, it was definitely more so. I can't say that, but I think wrestling was at its peak in the 90s whenever Shawn was hitting. Don't get me wrong with what Hulkamania did and all that stuff, but I think wrestling was at its peak. It was cool in the 90s when Shawn was dropping elbows on motherfuckers with Mike Tyson as the enforcer. You know what I mean? So that's my number one.
It's funny that you said drop kicks, though, because I did read a story this morning that apparently when The Rock was coming up, Shawn and Hunter bullied him backstage because Shawn was pissed that he was using a missile drop kick off the top rope because that was Shawn's thing, and he didn't want him doing it. So,
man, what a time back whenever moves were still protected. You remember that?
Yeah, right. You remember? Pepperidge Farm for members. So
good plug. Pepperidge Farm. My sponsor, brother, we're here.
My number one, I think you probably saw this from the moment that we said that we were going to do this. It's Edge. Yeah. It's hard for me to explain really why. No, it's not actually. Like I said about heels, I'm a big fan of heels. Edge as the rated R superstar or his many different heel personas killed it every single time. His work, when I really fell in love with Edge was the TLC matches with, him and Christian against the Hardys and the Dudleys. Just the crazy shit they would do, which ended up probably, shortening his career a little bit. Yeah. But, as a kid, like seeing those moves, it's like, how are they alive? And, it's pretty cool. And then, he pushed forward and pushed forward. He ended up becoming a main event star. And the second moment in wrestling history that had me tear up was when he came back at the Royal Rumble this year, because it's my favorite wrestler of all time, and I never thought I'd get to see him in the ring again. And we were all talking about it. The rumors were there. I knew it was going to happen, but I didn't know what number it would be. And
Royal Rumble really is. You hear so many different rumors about stuff. I think that's probably why it's one of our favorite pay-per-views. I know it's your favorite pay-per-view.
It's my favorite, yeah.
But you read so much shit going into the Royal Rumble, and you're like, oh, my God, is this guy going to come? And I'll never forget my favorite Royal Rumble moment over the last couple of years has been when AJ debuted.
Yeah.
We didn't know whose music it was, and then the camera work has been...
He fucked it up so bad.
But they just pan to the screen whenever it goes, I am... phenomenal. I lost my shit.
Well, no, they showed I am and then panned the Roman Reigns stupid face in the corner. Like, what's going on? Like, if you go on YouTube, you can find versions where the camera sticks on the screen and it says "I am," and then when Phenomenal hit, place goes nuts. I miss fans at wrestling events. I mentioned that. But the place goes absolutely nuts. AJ comes out. I love his entrance music too, by the way.
Fun fact for those that don't know this, but that entrance music was actually supposed to go to James Storm. We'll get into that at some other point, probably. But
Cowboy James Storm, beer money, baby. But yeah, I also, his entrance to the point I have so much love for Edge that, if you're on Facebook and you get your memories every day, and at the top it says on this day, every time I read that, instantly launch into singing Edge's theme song every single time.
I like that.
So
good.
Yeah, Edge is my number one, and it's not I love Kurt, I love Eddie, all the other guys I mentioned, but Edge is, he's way up there.
Watch it, man. It makes us feel something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good, man. So that'll do it for our top 5 favorite.
We will do best someday.
Yeah, we will. And I can't wait for that day because I hope you guys get involved in the comment section below and just call us out for our bullshit. Please do.
Yeah, because favorite is an opinion, so it's kind of hard to argue. I mean, you can tell me I'm stupid, but at the same time, it's not factual. But when you get into best, it's kind of, that's something where you can say, that guy sucked. He's not a top 5 best wrestler of all time. Yeah. So I think that would be really fun. Yeah. But I would love to see your guys' top favorites, to see where, maybe we have some similarities or a lot of differences.
Hey, Finn's making an appearance. What's up? I'm out of here. And we're going to end the show today. We are running a promo on our Twitter page. It is at Sims Getz It. And like I said earlier, we're going to be dropping it below in the description of this video. Please navigate over to our Twitter page. It is our pinned tweet. Give us a follow. Once we hit 100 followers, we're going to be doing a sweepstakes. We're going to make a video, make some content for you, pull out 4 names. And those 4 people will win an AEW or WWE t-shirt of your choosing. So really fun way for some interaction and to get some more followers. So thank you if you've stuck with us the entire time. I appreciate you listening and giving us your support.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for watching this episode of Sims Getz It. If you haven't done so already, please make sure you're hitting the subscribe button below and following us on Twitter. Our full version of this podcast is available on Spotify now.